Hey there YouTube, it's your Bullet out here with another reaction video. Today we got Life as the Last Fire Lookout by Aidin Robbins. Let's get right into it, shall we? Hit it.
This is a fire lookout.
That was beautiful.
Hidden deep in Washington's Cascades, miles from civilization, and overlooking an active volcano. I want to tell you a story about how we got here, but more importantly about how this tower got here, and the man who's living inside fighting to keep it here. But this story doesn't start in the Cascades. It starts in my own backyard, North Carolina. The mountains are smaller here, and none of them are volcanoes, but they're still more than beautiful enough to get me outside. As I spent more
Fucking hell, I can't even be mad. That is just beautiful. That is just aesthetically pleasing to look at, by far.
time outside, I kept ending up at these lookouts. They've become kind of an obsession of mine. These beautiful structures hidden on mountaintops offering unmatched views of their surroundings. I want to visit as many of these towers as I can, but I also want to find out who built them, when, why, and why did they abandon them?
This is hitting all the right spots on, things I wanted in a game, the mystery, the things that were left behind, solving it, and you find the places you're trying to solve just have the best view of the place around you. This is beautiful. This is just beautiful. I'm not gonna make it to the video. I'm not gonna make it to the video. I'm just going to keep. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Fucking hell, that's beautiful.
Those questions eventually brought me here.
Oh my god.
To the northwest. The beautifully imposing landscape where all of this...
Okay, to be fair, while I do have to admit it looks beautiful, I'm going to guess it's a pain in the ass if you're in the place and you're just surrounded by mist and you can't see anything. But I can only imagine when that mist clears and sunlight comes through and you see the surrounding. Ooh, I bet that'd be worth it. I'm just saying. Sorry for pausing.
Over a century ago.
Bro, that is beautiful. Damn.
Anyone who handles fire in any form is a potential killer. Anyone can start a fire and never even know it.
Fire, watch out, you that, yeah?
Very careful with fire. Only you can prevent forest fires.
Alright, it's summer of 1910 in the Northern Rockies. People are flocking here, cutting trees and building railroads that spew cinders into the forests. The snow's melted early and summer hasn't brought a drop of rain, but lightning storms have lit thousands of small fires. And on August 19th, a massive current of wind blows through these mountains, combining them into a single, massive wall of flame. Hundreds of feet high, over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, carried by hurricane-force winds at inescapable speed. This fire consumed 3 million acres of land and killed 86 people. More than horrific enough to put it at center stage in outdoor policy.
Damn.
The Forest Service was founded just 5 years prior and was not popular. Congress was squeezing budgets and salaries, rangers were barely paid, had to buy their own gear, and were threatened and attacked out west. But this fire was an opportunity to prove themselves, to show the country that protecting forests was worth it, by preventing this from ever happening again. Their strategy at the time was to eradicate fire from the landscape, putting out any fire as quickly as possible. And they decided to lean into that, with firefighting crews, television PSAs, Smokey Bear, and a massive network of fire lookouts. They constructed thousands of lookouts across the US, and in the 1930s, the Civilian Conservation Corps got involved, constructing many of the lookouts still standing today.
It's fascinating because you get both sides of the perspective, because back then I imagine because of rapid industrialization, you wanted that wood. I guess people who tried preventing you from getting access to those resources were seen as unpopular. Yeah, I can imagine that.
A ranger or firefighter would live in the tower for months at a time, checking throughout the day for smoke, reporting it, and sometimes even helping to extinguish it. They would literally see a fire, let someone know, and then start bushwhacking through the forest to put it out. Pretty wild. But in the 1940s, something changed. The number of active lookouts peaked, and then started to decline. Partially because new technologies could spot and track fires more easily and more accurately, but mostly because the Forest Service realized that trying to eradicate wildfires was a terrible idea in the first place. By preventing forests from burning at all, they had allowed them to fill with dry wood and brush, leaving extra fuel for future fires and combining with a warming climate to cause devastating wildfires in the future.
Oh, that's kind of paradoxical. It's like, wait, so you want to prevent further fires, you're gonna have to let this fire burn out. Wow, okay. Fascinating.
So, since the 1940s, these lookouts have been decommissioned, cleaned out one by one until today, they're all gone. At least that's what I thought.
The shots are beautiful. No questions asked. This looks like a professional documentary as well. I can't even... Damn.
We are on our way to meet a pretty interesting person who might have something to tell us about fire lookouts. But to get there, we have to trudge through about 22 miles of mountains and forests. And ironically, speak of the devil, our previous route to get there was only 13 miles, but it burned in a forest fire earlier this year, and it's closed. So we're taking this long, but still very scenic route instead, about 14 miles in, 7 or so left to go this morning, but can't complain with views like these.
I imagine, like, I've heard stories from my dad and a couple of other people as well. Like, people who went to war and the things they suffered. They keep people in, like, these rehabilitation centers in, like, really nice looking places like these. And it helps soothe the mind. It's really good in keeping you calm, keeping you relaxed, and, spending the rest of your days like this. It's a blessing, honestly. It looked fucking amazing. Okay, look, I admit, I agree with everything here, but the water, I would boil it. I would boil it 100%, regardless. Yeah, it is a protected reserve, is also fair enough, maybe. Music just makes it better. I can't even, bro. I mean, the part of me that just drives for aesthetics is just frothing. Just looking at the nice greenery here, contrasting with the white and black trees in the background is just... Oh, it's perfect. Oh, it's perfect. Yeah, I think this, honestly, you know what, screw it. This reaction is for me. I don't even care. It just looks good. I'm not even mad. I'm just enjoying myself here. Bro, you cannot have filmed this better, honestly, in my opinion. Damn, that looks good. Fuck.
First year I came up here, I went out after about a week because there were some tools and things I wanted, and I came back with a really, really heavy pack, and I thought, I don't want to do that again, so I'm going to plan really well and make sure that I've got a balanced diet of candy bars and top ramen. I'm being a little facetious, but really that's kind of what it turns into.
This is Russ Dalton. He's a retired forest ranger and one of the last active fire lookouts in the world.
What did the career trajectory look like to get here? What context and situation led to becoming one of the only fire lookouts in the world?
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Okay, how did I end up here? I had a unique skill set, I guess. And I did a lot of years with the National Park Service sampling all the kind of seasonal jobs. Fire crews, I was an interpreter, doing guided walks and evening programs in the campgrounds, working visitor desks. Worked with youth programs a lot, doing trail work. Did a lot of bridge work too. Had a 10-month job a year working on a trail crew. And then that brought me over here to the Cascades where I worked trail crews, and then got into carpentry with North Cascades National Park. It wasn't until I moved over to the Cascade Range when I was in my 40s and had a chance to work on some fire lookouts. One was the Park Butte lookout. Worked on the Hidden Lake Peak lookout, carried up lumber to put in another shutter, and then later I visited the Copper Lookout and the Sourdough and the Desolation, and had a better understanding of how they were put together, and so felt pretty comfortable taking on this place here. I check in twice a day so that they know I'm alive and well. Having checked in and tidied up the place on myself for the day, then I'll take on whatever projects that I've lined out for myself. Worked on the tower, mending it where it was cracked and putting plates on it. Dealt with all the shutters. In the case of the inside of the lookout, it hadn't been painted in about 50 years, I think. I took that on, and I repaired the furniture and painted it. I had a roof to put on this year, so that took more of my attention. In the course of the day, I would see 10, 20, 30 people come to visit the place. So I would take off my painter's hat and put on my interpreter's hat and just share the story of the lookout, because that's part of the job. You know, it's really a cool place, and it's a fun place to tell people about. Say if there is a smoke that we've spotted and it doesn't appear to be coming from a campground or something, then it would be incumbent to call it in. I would first go to the firefinder and get that data and get a distance and a bearing from here, as well as a place name, so that they can refer to their maps.
That's such a cool
In
instrument
this
as well.
case,
Yeah.
it's more of being a passive observer, not so much the prescribed watching for fires like I had mentioned earlier, where you have to every hour on the hour be looking for smoke.
And that's the thing. Russ isn't really here to look for fires. He explained to us that his main job here is actually keeping an eye on a campground at a nearby lake.
The lake had, like so many alpine places, become very popular and really took a beating from overuse from camping. And if you've been to a big festival, you know, I'm not saying Burning Man or something, but a big festival or a county fair or a state fair, and the grounds afterward just look so beat up. Then the Forest Service took stock of things, decided to get a grip on it. Around that time is when fire surveillance changed, and they were using aircraft a lot more and not lookouts. And so this
That is so
became
fascinating that he just
place
looks out
where
just
the,
for a campground. Wow.
wilderness rangers lived, and they would go over and dig up plants and move them around and fill in the impacted spots around the lakeshore these days, to ensure that people aren't starting to camp back over there. Having a ranger presence, just somebody to walk over and say hello and answer questions or be available if somebody needs help. So this is a key structure for people to live in and go over there and patrol and work, as well as monitor for fires around the trail system. That's two parts of the thing, and the third part is it's a historic structure. There were, I think, 8,000 lookouts in this country at one time, and there are just a handful now. And this one is in remarkably original condition with the same furniture that it should have had and did have and still has. We've worked to restore it, and so it's a great example of a Forest Service lookout from back in the day.
What I can only imagine is because the thing is made of wood, so if he actually doesn't do his job right, and if there is a fire next to him, this place is gone. So it is melancholic in a way that, you know, he literally is not just watching out for the fire, he's trying to defend this last place of history that he's living in. So it's because it's more personal, because you're defending your home in a way. You spend so much time there that it isn't about work anymore, it becomes personal. So fair enough. And he paints there as well, so yeah, he enjoys his time.
In any number of days when I wake up and just look out the windows here, or by moonlight, look out and see Glacier Peak in the moonlight, it's really such a lucky thing to see.
It's beautiful. I don't think you'll ever get tired of that view. I don't think anyone does.
After leaving the Cascades, we drove south to Mount Rainier to visit two of Washington's other lookouts. These towers exemplify one of my favorite things about these lookouts: that the Forest Service accidentally built some of the coolest hiking destinations imaginable.
Yeah. Imagine someone who doesn't even know it's there and just tries finding this weird winding path and gets to the structures like, oh my god, I did not know it was here. It would be the greatest feeling. It's like, oh my god, what is this place?
Fire lookouts were intended to spot fires, so they were built on high peaks with expansive visibility of the surrounding area.
You need to see everything, right?
Which makes for an incredible view. And when the lookouts were staffed, forest rangers needed a way to access them, so the roads and trails are already there. Yeah, no wonder these lookouts are some of the best hikes in the country. Yeah. A lot of lookouts, including this one, are now part of national parks and forests and are maintained for hiking. And some towers have even become homes and Airbnbs. Back up in the Cascades, you can rent the top cab of Haybrook Lookout to spend the night.
Ooh.
Those lookouts are popular hiking destinations, but others aren't so lucky. Many are falling into disrepair or being demolished. To me, these towers are skeletons. Gutted, wiry frames, all that remains of a long-forgotten approach to the outdoors, and ready to fade away if we don't take care of them. And that brings me to the tough, inescapable question.
Because it's so poetic that, the forest and that mountain was there a lot longer than that watchtower, and that watchtower is going to go away far quicker than those mountains and those forests ever going to go. It's like the sands of time, man. It's like things we make just wither away while time marches on. Time doesn't care. And it's up to us to maintain it.
Are they worth saving? Is it worth spending time and money to maintain hundreds of lookouts that aren't actually looking out?
But you can make the argument that's not their purpose anymore,
You've
isn't
had
it?
decades of experience working in the outdoors, in national parks, national forests. Are there any significant changes that you've noticed and have been able to observe in the way that we interact with the outdoors and environmental policy?
I can think back, 50 years ago when I was doing backcountry work, and the impact from people was so much. It's just the campfires and the trash, and one of my jobs was to dig garbage pits for people to throw their garbage into, and periodically I'd go back to set it on fire so the bears wouldn't be digging in it so much. That's how bad it was. To be able to now be in a premier subalpine setting and just not see the impact of people is really a dramatic change.
Right.
Anyway, that's sort of the evolution of stuff that I've seen. It's a pleasing evolution.
Throughout this adventure, this theme keeps coming up. The relationship we as individuals have with the outdoors. One of my favorite lookouts back home was almost torn down in the 80s, but a group of local hikers lobbied the Park Service to restore it. Government policy and action is crucial, but ultimately it begins with people being invested.
It just fades away. Oh my god, that is such a cool shot, because you can see like the fresh greenery, everything else that's like in the current moment, and it just fades away, like as though time and the mist just claims it, and you wouldn't even know it existed before. Damn, that's a beautiful shot. Like, I might be just seeing into this a bit too deeply, but that's my interpretation of it. Just straightforward.
Now, you don't have to lobby the Park Service, and you certainly don't have to go into Russ's line of work. But I hope I've piqued your interest.
Oh,
perhaps you'll become curious about these places.
Firewatch, I know I haven't completed the game, still remains one of my... It's a memorable game.
Visit them, care about them, and play a small part in keeping them alive. At the very least, you'll get to say you saw them while you still could.
No, that's true.
These towers were the response to a massive fire, but the response went so much deeper than that. This fire didn't just sell people on the Forest Service, but on the very idea of conservation. Within a matter of months, the people, the press, and even Congress were on board. Forestry budgets increased. For the first time, land on the East Coast was protected. Authors depicted forest rangers as heroes. This fire had gotten the country's attention, and convinced it that this land is worth more than the industries that want it. The fact of the matter is, a vast network of fire lookouts isn't necessary for spotting fires anymore.
Right.
And we don't always even need to spot fires anymore. But sometimes that just doesn't matter. Sometimes it isn't about spotting fires or driving tourism or harvesting timber. Some places deserve to be protected for their beauty alone. Some places are just special.
Fucking hell. Yeah, that's yeah. I couldn't have said it better. Yeah.
You are a volunteer, and you're working clearly very hard to keep this structure, but also the fire lookout tradition going.
Yes.
Why would you say it's important to preserve the lookouts and the lookout tradition?
I think the answer I would give is similar to I've worked on a couple of cabins that were restored. And it's one thing to read the account of the homesteader, but it's another thing to stand on their front porch and look out at their orchard and hear their words. And if the lookout wasn't here, you can read about it, but it wouldn't be the tangible experience of being in a lookout and being welcomed in it to see what life would be like for a few minutes to just stand here and take it in.
Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful way to end it as well. Fucking hell. Because in that moment, all that matters is even if you're gone, it stays behind. It stays longer than you ever did. A legacy. Yeah, this I would argue is one of the longer reactions. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, and subscribe. And Aidin Robbins. Sorry, you deserve far more subs than you have right now, Baichi. If you put content out like this, you deserve far more subs. Catch you beautiful bastards in the next one. Peace. Take care. This is a goddamn beautiful video. It's a beautiful video.